where he is expected to sign the visitor's book. Now, we know that issues to do with early marriages and child marriages. Last year, in his address, the president talked about the number of teen pregnancies and what the government is doing to reverse what is happening. And one of, should I call him maybe the champion in terms of the traditional leaders, is Chief Chamuka. He's been vocal on issues to do with early marriages and teen pregnancies and GBV matters. And society, we know that society is grappling with a number of these issues that we've highlighted. And Matimba Mkua Staffa caught up with His Royal Highness Chief Chamuka of the Lenje-speaking people. The chief talked about the measures his chiefdom is putting in place to curb the vice. And just let's take a look at this report that was brought by our staffer Matimba Mkua.
With modernity. Through his influence, he actively fights against early marriages and ensures that his people embrace both their cultural heritage and Zambia's national values. His Royal Highness begins by sharing his perspective as a traditional leader on how these national values align with the traditions and cultural practices in his chiefdom.
National values provide the baseline of the ethical compass and regulate our people's daily behavior in the application of our traditions and the cultural practices, as you may be aware that each person is expected to behave in a particular way in order to align ourselves with the national values. And then the other thing is that our chiefdom, as a chiefdom, we have put in place a theory of change. And this theory of change ensures that it gives us a clearly outlined goal and how to achieve these goals. And in this regard, national values and principles establish for us the ultimate goals that our chiefdom or individuals have to achieve and how to get them. National values guide every decision-making process in our chiefdom. We cannot make decisions without engaging and embracing ourselves in the national values, because they act as a mirror for our decision-making. Traditions and cultural practices are supposed to be applied correctly. And so national values, therefore, come in to help the leaders and individuals to define what is proper, correct, important, beautiful, worthwhile, or desirable. I think we should embrace that behavior which is desirable and which fits very well in the national values and principles.
His Royal Highness Chief Chamuka also highlights the measures being put in place within his chiefdom to promote gender equality and prevent harmful practices such as early marriages.
We have put in place the chiefdom bylaws on ending early marriages, teenage pregnancies, child defilement, and child labor. Then apart from that, we have a very important local law or policy, which is gender responsive local policy 50-50, okay, in terms of decision making, to ensure that even the vulnerable have a voice. So what we have done in the land allocation is 50-50, okay? We make sure that women and men have the parity in terms of land acquisition, and even in decision-making positions, the women and men have equal numbers in committees. For me, that's very, very important. And then apart from that, we have put in place what we are calling Chamuka Village-led One-Stop and GBV Community Development Center. That is the center we have put in place. And under the roof of that center, what we do is to receive reports, okay, from the vulnerable groups in the community. When we receive reports, we provide basic legal services, because we believe that some women don't know where to go when they have got issues. So we have got people who have been trained as paralegal officers.
Despite ongoing efforts of these vices, early marriages remains a significant challenge driven by poverty, limited education, and cultural norms. To assess the impact of these interventions, we spoke with young girls who broke free from early marriage and returned to school. They shared their struggles, the difficulties they faced, and how education is now giving them a second chance at their dreams.
In 2015, nilizenda na mimba. So after that, pena na mimba ninabwana kwatiliwa. So maji kwa kwenda kwatiliwa mwana wenzanimenya eyo na sponsor senze bwino. So manje ndepena bwana kambana dawe singakwanise unkara mu marriage just cause nkali mwana mng'ono. So ndepena nyamukirako na bwana ndoza ma parents banga na dawe nfuna chikako kuchukwa because sinkala bwino. Amuna wanga wankala nimenya ero amuna wanga yaziba bus driver. So after that bakabwera nishini kunimenya. So ndepena bwana hozela ma parents banga. So ndepena bwana hozela dawe we mwino wake ufunika washita bwanji. Ndio ufunika kukamba mwino wake. So ndepena bwana aendera na chukako. So penda nkala pansi na bwana kama nkali mwana mng'ono nifunika nibwereche ku school. So ndevena bwerera ku school. So pa kubwera ku school na bwana aenda one stop center na kuri ba chief na hoza nifuna bwerera ku school na pano. So baba wanipasa encourage yo kambati awe bwerera ku school. Ndevana bwana wanipasa na sponsor ba chief wanipasa na drama na drama uniform na mabuku. So na bwana bweza grade 7. So napasa naamba fourth grade 8 hapa. So ni grade 9 nilemba exam this year. But guys, school ni ya bwino. Chikwati kubena kwe chimapereka ro 1 because chikwati ukambira chikwati ukali mwana mng'ono ozati life yako kulibe kweuza shitabanje kweuza enda pasogolo. But school iri bwino pano peni nikasiza school nza kwanisa kusunga ma parents banga nza kwanisa kusunga kona benangu bantu or maybe za kwanisa kutandiza ko bantu benangu. So school ni yabwino maningi osaleka oloine pano peni lile sinireka paka nisirize school paka ku university paka nikambo 7.
Mu 2015 na bwana atenga mimba nchini mu grade 8 na bwana nipeleka kuchikwati na bwana aenda na bwana nkala na mwana mu 2016 na bwana ankala kuja kuchikwati. So nzo nisunga bwino amuna wanga nzo nimenya sopo ya mwana sipenzo gula peza chema tebera washa socha bena manzi eka kutoka hapo manje na bwana kambatawe ne chikwati sinza kwanisa zipetacheni bwerere kwatu nje mwana bwana bwerera kwatu na nkala kuja na tawa hapa nchiri mfana ni bwerere che ku school. Nde mwana bwana nyamukira naenda kwa chief. Wa chief anabo wantandizira na bwana aoza na nifuna bwerera ku school nachoka kuchikwati. Baba wantandizira ananigulira ma uniform, mabuku, sapato. Na bwana yamba mu grade 8. After niyambe kufika mu grade 9 examination inabo yashita expired. Ishita expired na bwana uzati ubweze mu grade 7 na bwana bweza na bwana remba exam ya first na bwana feruka na tawe sinzareka na bwana yamba futi na bwana remba hapa manje na pasa nenda mu grade 8 and then support bambuya benzo ntandizira hapa ni wodwala sibamvera kuno so support kulipi so hapa nezofuna unyamuka kwenda kwa chief kuti manitandisireko support ya ku school. Ma guys muri mu chikwati please prepare viri mu chikwati bwererani ku school ukabwerera ku school zaona na life yako eza kuendera mushi so that usungeko na ma parents bako na ma sisters bako na bachipuluru benangu nikushitanya encourage kubwerera ku school.
On 28 February 2025, the Republican President, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, is expected to update the nation on the progress made in the application of national values and principles. The President's address emphasizes the crucial role of leadership in upholding national values. His Royal Highness Chief Chamuka shares how he works alongside the government and other stakeholders to combat early marriages in his chiefdom.
First is the area of advocacy. Okay? We engage ourselves in a robust advocacy program to ensure that we have legal reforms that are conducive, that uphold the rights of our people. I may be happy to mention, Matimba, that because of the advocacy approach or program that we have actually engaged in together with government, I think we have now in place the Children's Code Act number 12 of 2022, which protects the rights of the children and which stipulates clearly what is supposed to be done to the perpetrators or to the offenders, even clearly indicating the roles of each party. Okay, the children, the parents, the government institutions, the civil society organizations, and the others, including traditional leaders, what we are supposed to do, okay, and the penalties, okay, to that if we fail to do that. So this is a good act. And then apart from that, advocacy has also hatched out another very important act from your institution, the Marriage Amendment Act number 13 of 2023. This one is critical in our case. Through advocacy, this is critical. Advocacy and the government goodwill and the presidential good leadership. We have this act. At this time, Matimba, it is very, very important for all of us to understand that, unlike in the past, when we have laws that only concentrated on safeguarding the marriages and the people who are engaging in statutory marriages. But this time around, this Marriage Amendment Act is also looking at customary marriages. And by doing that, we have now a general statement which is cutting across all the laws in Zambia, okay? That is statutory law and customary law. And this law puts in place the minimum marriage age, which is 18.
Chief Chamuka's efforts are part of a broader national movement to combat early marriages and promote gender equality. However, gender-based violence remains a challenge for many. Testimonies by Moine Simazaza and others are becoming a driving force for change.
Ndagawatwa in 2002. Mujiwati ndakakala 19 years beti wina bugotumbo ndakajama mujiwati ndakahela bana bali 5 abasankwa mbena aba chitonje twakali kubereka twakali bulima twakali balimi then twalima twatebula yaho twatebula tindakali kujana mo share yonse bakali kwinyamuna then muguya kwa mazuba ndakali kukalagandilira mbwenu obuso muguya kwa mazuba nkama ndajana buyumuyumu bwa kutola bana kujikolo ndakahikunkwa kuti kuli one stop center nko bagwashirira ibajisima problems muhiwati sombo ndakaunka bakatukahika ntomwe batulaya but still ipenzi lyakayindirira winda wali ampulya kalibede ponya nondakamana nondabona kuti buyumuyumu bwakomena alimu ndakajana mzezo wakuti ndiunke ukoti utegwa ndijane kulikalira ndisunge bana utegwa bakwaniheko yakuchikolo so ndakaunka kukoti ijiwati jakamana nojakamana kumana chikwati ndakabora ndatalika kulikalira kandibereka ano apalasi then mukukala kwangu mwana wa number 2 na akapasa bakandigwashirira 100% ikumutola kuchikolo achipembi girls mane wamani ha grade 12 nakamaniha kumaniha grade 12 alimwe bakandigwashirira by this time mwana uli ku college ya nursing. Then mu 2023 hours bakabola bandichita ataki akwamba kuti kuno handi kukubona why uliko kuno bakandiuma kuyanda kundijaya. Then mondakatijira one stop center alimwe kuti ndijane lugwasho. Then nindakaonka one stop center bakandituma kuya ku police. Ku police bakabajata bagangwa for 5 months. By this time ndilikedeboka boti.
In Chief Chamuka's chiefdom, where tradition and modernity intersect, parents like Francis Ntalasha and Miriam Golofwana are taking a stand against early marriage. Committed to securing a bright future for their daughters, they share their efforts of breaking the cycle and promote education over child marriage.
Maganizo yatu isiameti na kuno chiefdom. Ni sitifuna kwatirisa abana bakali bangono mwamechenzeri kudala. So vabenti machita kuno tifuna kuti bana baende ku maskulu basize maskulu chifukwa mwana ngati apunzira poverty izabwerera pansi mwana azankhala nkhalidwe ya bwino ndiponso umoyo wake uzankhala bwino na family azakasunga family even the community izankhaliramo bwino kuti benefit chifukwa mwana ngati aenda ku skulu na mind yake imasiyanako na mwana amesa anapunzire. So kuno vameti machita ni making sure kuti mwana akali muono asaende muchikwati. Akaenda muchikwati tikaziva chabe timachita retrieve tiendo mubweza kumuchosa kuchikwati nombweza pa school again. Elo again pano pa one stop center tima wachita encourage kwati like ma girls na ma computer yameti wakipingako busy kuti basazienda basovela makamaka ma holidays pacha. Lionse bafunika bamabwera kuno kuma computers kuyamba opunzira ko ma computers kuti bakipinga ko busy basazikumbira vochita vame bachita muma chiefdoms mwinangu. So ndiye mwameti machitira pano pa kuno kwa Chamuka kwatu.
Mu 2015 ndio twakabona kurwana kwa bana banini kuba amafumo. Bami besu bami besu kwakaba ma trainings ma sensitization ma communities onse.
Yes, indeed. Welcome to Parliament TV. We've just tuned into the TV station, indeed, that is dedicated to bringing Parliament closer to you. So today on the parliamentary calendar, it's a very, very important day, and we can see on live screen there that we see some guests arriving, of course, making their way to the chamber, so that in readiness for the President to, of course, address the nation later on. But of course, before that, business of the House is going to commence as usual, as it happens every Friday. So those are just some of the pictures of the House. We can see some members have indeed made their way to the chamber in readiness for business at 09 hours, and a little later we expect the President to come in and address the nation. So of course, it's going to be a day that of course marks a very, very important event on the parliamentary calendar.
Yes, Muta, looking forward to today's address by the Republican President, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema. Earlier on, you just saw the arrival of the Chief Justice, that's Mumba Malila, there as part of the people to witness the President's address. And prior to that, you were listening to a very interesting piece that our staffer Matimba Mkua put up together and interacted with His Royal Highness, that's Chief Chamuka. We know that in last year's address, the President did about the issues that were raised by the Royal Highness to do with early marriages and teen pregnancies, and the President did emphasize that the government is working with traditional leaders and other partners. In 2023 and years before that, government conducted sensitization programs countrywide. To this end, a total number of 192 chiefdoms and over 2.5 million people were sensitized on the dangers of child marriages and teenage pregnancies. So Muta, I'm sure all these that were watching Matimba interacting with the chief, and the chief is very passionate issues to do with 10 pregnancies. It's something that government is also doing in the background, training these traditional leaders and the church and civil society.
Yes, President, and indeed it's very interesting to listen to those real life stories. It's not just things that we read in the paper, we listen to on radio, no, but we heard it for ourselves, how someone fell pregnant at a very tender age, how someone was in an early marriage, and they share with us some of the consequences of such. So that was very insightful, and we're sure many of those stories are around the country. As you said, 192 chiefdoms, that is a lot.
It is a big number, and those are live pictures outside, people getting to the chamber and making sure that everything is in place, and you can see security all over the place, making sure that everything is going as planned. Anytime from now, we'll be able to see the procession, the Madam Speaker's procession making its way to the chamber. We'll have business at 9 hours, and thereafter business will be suspended as we'll be waiting for the arrival of the Republican President, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, to address the nation on those 7 pillars.
Yes, indeed, and just for the sake of those who want to follow deliberations on Parliament TV, you can access our website, www.parliament.gov.zm, for the order paper, and basically the order paper is just an agenda of the business that is expected to be considered on the floor of the House, and the main item on business on the order paper today is the presidential address on the progress made in the application of national values and principles by the President of the Republic of Zambia, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema. And
yes, Amuta, live pictures there, members of Parliament just catching up. You know, it's a very important day, and those pictures, members just greeting and also just exchanging few notes and also expressing their expectations, both from the right. And yesterday, Madam Speaker did make an announcement, and in her announcement she informed or reminded the House that the President of the Republic of Zambia, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, would address the House today, and reminded some members of Parliament and the invited guests that electronic gadgets will not be allowed to be with them in the chamber here, just for the sake of maintaining the decorum and smooth functioning of the proceedings during the presidential address. So if you intend to come to the National Assembly and be part of the people that have been invited to be part and parcel of today's address, those are some of the measures that Madam Speaker made, and the issue to do with movements as well during the address. Madam Speaker informed the House that during the President's address, honorable members and invited guests are requested to remain in their seats and avoid unnecessary movements when the President was delivering his address. And she said that should a member need to leave the chamber during the address, the member could do so quietly using the nearest exit point to avoid causing disturbances.
Yes, indeed. Another issue that she really talked to was punctuality, and she did urge all honorable members to be punctual for the President's address on Friday, that's today, and requested that all the members be seated in the House by 09 hours. But it was in that regard that she did state that members and invited guests would not be allowed to enter the chamber once the President began to deliver his address. She, in her, of course, in her observation, her comments informed the House that the measure was also taken in order to maintain the decorum of the House and to prevent any unnecessary disruption during the President's address. So that was what was contained in the announcement by Madam Speaker yesterday. Punctuality, movement in the House, and coming in with gadgets, be it phones, tablets, those things will not be allowed in the House today. And
without letting the cat out of the bag, we also still have one item that I would urge our viewers out there to stick around, because Matimba Mkoa did interact with Mr. Hambote just to explain to us the significance of this very important. But that will be coming a little later as the day progresses. Just before the President addresses Parliament. So it's very important for you, our viewers out there, both on YouTube and Facebook page, to learn the significance of this very important, talking about when the President is addressing Parliament and the progress made in the application of national values and principles. Live pictures, and I must say members of Parliament taking some selfie and some group photo, and very, very interesting happenings in the chamber here, together with Honor, the Vice President.
Yes, indeed, President. It's very nice to look at these pictures where we see members taking pictures, members just catching up, and you know, it gives a sense of unity, you know. So there we have it, Madam Speaker's procession making its way to the chamber, and this marks the start of business of the day. Enjoy watching.
Almighty God, who in your infinite wisdom and providential goodness has appointed the offices of leaders and parliaments for the welfare of society and the just government of the people, we beseech you to consider with your abundant favor us, your servants, whom you have been pleased to call to the performance of such important responsibilities in this land. Let your blessing descend upon us here in Parliament assembled, and grant that we may, as in your presence, treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our country, and of those whose interests you have committed to our charge. Amen. May Her Honor the Vice President indicate when the President, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema,
will arrive to address the House.
Madam Speaker, I wish to inform the House that the President of the Republic of Zambia, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, will arrive at 09:45 hours to address the House. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you very much. I suspend business until the President arrives. Honorable members are requested to remain in their seats.
When we expect His Excellency the President to address the nation on the progress made in the application of principles and values, national values and principles. So in the meantime, we just take a quick look at what has happened so far. So just one item, of course. Paulson, what is that?
Yes, Muta, Her Honor, the Republican President has indicated that the President will arrive at Parliament grounds at 09:45 hours to address Parliament. So Madam Speaker has just reminded members of Parliament, based on the announcement that she made yesterday, they should remain seated until the President arrives to address Parliament. And looking forward to the address, quite a number of stakeholders have expressed their expectations in various areas that the President will talk about in his address when it comes to report progress made in the application of the national values and principles.
Yes, indeed, and just as a reminder of those pillars, those include morality and ethics, patriotism and national unity, democracy and constitutionalism.
Others are human dignity, equity, social justice, equality and non-discrimination, good governance and integrity, and the last one is sustainable development.
Okay, so on screen, those are just basically what is in the House, and from that announcement, from that directive from Madam Speaker, members are to remain in their seats, and this will build up to the time that His Excellency the President of the Republic of Zambia will address the nation. And we did hear from Her Honor the Vice President, who indicated that the President will be here at 09:45 hours to address the House and indeed the nation.
So the national values and principles, we know that they're very important in molding the character of our nation. They also influence our conduct as individuals and society. They also guide the development and implementation of state policy. So like we've heard from various stakeholders that we've shared with you, from Chief Chamuka, the measures that his chiefdom is putting in place to reverse issues to do with teenage pregnancies, early marriages, GBV, and also heard from the Reverend Dr. Rodro Siame, who is heading the United Church of Zambia, also expressed some very important aspects in terms of how these principles and values can shape our country. We've seen moral decay, Muta, in terms of alcohol abuse in our society, people going on social media insulting, and these are the things that the President will be talking about and trying to address, and the measures that government has put in place to reverse these vices.
Yes, indeed, and those indeed are issues that came out in the expectations. You touched on substance abuse and alcohol abuse, which reminds me, like in the address that the President made last year, he really talked about it. And you know, when it comes to substance and alcohol abuse, the society really gets affected, because you find that there's a lot of negative vices that take place in the society. And maybe at this point, at this time around, we get to listen to why is the address very important. And as we did say, our colleague did have an interview with Mr. Hambote, who's the Director, Rules and Procedural Matters, National Assembly of Zambia. Let's take a listen to that.
Thank you so much for joining us on Parliament Television and Parliament Radio. My name is Matimba Mukua. On 28th February 2025, the Republican President, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, will update the nation on the progress made on the application of national values and principles. This important